Hi, today I'm going to be reviewing this book, Dropping Acid, the Reflux Diet Cookbook and Cure. This is by Dr. Jamie Kaufman, Dr. Jordan Stern, and French Master Chef Mark Bauer. Now, I've personally been suffering from acid reflux for probably the best part of 10 years now. In that time, I've tried all manner of different remedies, treatments, done a lot of investigation, a lot of research, spoken to a lot of experts about how to treat this condition. And if like me, you suffer from chronic reflux, you'll know just how difficult it can be to get the answers that you need, the answers that are going to help you treat this condition. It's notoriously not a one-size-fits-all condition. It's not like, you've got a headache, take an aspirin and it cures your headache. It seems to me that the reasons behind reflux, heartburn, indigestion, dyspepsia, whatever you want to call it, stomach acid coming back up through the esophagus and causing irritation. It seems to me that the reasons behind this are varied. But what this book, the aim of this book is to take on the dietary aspect of this condition head on. And I think it does a pretty good job. I have some problems with it. It's not 100% perfect, but as a tool in one's armoury against tackling reflux, I think it definitely serves a purpose. So if I perhaps list what's good about the book and some of the drawbacks, some of the negatives about it, that will give you a good idea as to whether you think it'll help you or not. First things to say is that the authors, they obviously know their stuff. The two doctors have done a lot of research. There's a lot of background gone into this over a good many years, many studies. So they obviously know what they're talking about. And what I really like about it, as with other treatments I've gone for with reflux, is that it's non-pharmaceutical. So it doesn't involve taking protein pump inhibitors and antacids and things like that, the kind of stuff that I really try to get away from. So it's a natural treatment, if you like. So yes, promoting treatment by non-chemical means. Perhaps I think one of the most useful things, besides, because what I should probably say that what the book does is it gives you a little bit of background on what reflux is and why certainly in their opinion, why people get it. But then we've got a whole load of recipes here, kind of reflux-friendly recipes, which is really great. But I think in kind of some of more in the preamble here, or is it in the cure here? One of the most useful things for me. So you've got a bit of information on the symptoms of reflux and when if you suspect it and what it might be. Because there are different forms. You've got GERD and you've got LPR. If you suffer from this, you'll know. But here we go in the diet section. So one of the things I found most useful about this is you've just got lists of what they describe as good foods and bad foods. The kind of things that you should consume and the sort of things you shouldn't. A lot of this might seem like common sense, but it reaffirms, I suppose, any suspicions you might have about your diet and the effects that it may be having on exacerbating your symptoms. Here, for instance, it goes into detail about, you know, the things that you really shouldn't eat, which unfortunately are the nice things, the beers and the soda and whatnot. Again, you know, probably not news to you if you do suffer from reflux, but it's good that they kind of lay this out in black and white. You know, and they describe idiosyncratic foods, usually bad, and it's things that are bad for some people but not others. But I suppose by way of illustrating the fact that this isn't perfect, just as any cure or any purported cure is not perfect, there are things that they refer to in here as being almost universally okay. The one that really jumps out at me is oatmeal. Well, I can say for certain that oatmeal, to me, does in fact cause reflux. So it just goes to show that there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, really. So yeah, here we go. So here's sort of in detail, different drinks. You know, red's bad, green's good. Fruits and vegetables, things like that. And then we move into more detail about the actual recipes themselves. On the downsides, I felt that in places, especially in the sciencey sections where it's explaining the kind of background and reasons behind what causes reflux, and how that it's not actually the acid, or well, they're saying it's not, that it's the pepsin, and that the acid actually activates the pepsin, and that's what attacks your esophagus. You know, I'm sure that's all great, but I feel in places it can be a little bit scaremongery. There's numerous references to esophageal cancer, which, yes, anyone that suffers from this, that will be aware, will have in the back of their mind that this is something that can be the result of many years of suffering from this condition. But I don't know if it's particularly helpful to ram it home as much as the book does. When it comes to the recipes themselves, I think they've done a really great job of working with the very what turns out to be quite a limited palette of ingredients that they determine to be, you know, safe for reflux sufferers, and you know, I can't really fault them for how creative they've been coming up with these recipes. So this is not really a criticism of the book; it's just a criticism of suffering from reflux. Really, that the limitations placed on this it kind of highlights just how limited you can be with what you can eat. But I've made a few of these recipes, and they're pretty good. These wraps, for instance. There was the one I had recently. The tasty tuna salad, that works. And the Asian tuna tartare. Lots of things with tuna. This crisp Asian chicken salad, that was good. But on the whole, yeah, it just serves to illustrate how bland your choices are, despite their creativity, really. And I would also say that this is all well and good for you if you are, you know, inclined to make foods from scratch. But if you're not, if you're looking for, you know, fast, quick and easy food that you can pick up off the shelf, which is guaranteed not to give you problems, then yeah, it's probably not going to give you too many ideas in that regard. And then the only other thing that it doesn't really touch on, but that I personally have found is particularly important when trying to deal with this problem is the kind of mechanical aspect, that it's not just a case that there are chemicals in the stomach which are causing you grief, that the lower esophageal sphincter is at fault, and really, if you can try and strengthen that somehow, which of course there are many treatments for, the fundoplication and the Lynx device and things like that, and those things are all great, but if you really want to avoid that kind of surgical intervention, then one thing that I have come across, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, is a thing called an IQoro device, which is it's like a thing that you place within your mouth, and you pull on it whilst clasping it with your lips, and that the action of doing that strengthens the muscles in the back of your throat, and by extension the muscles at the bottom of your esophagus, and I have found that to be as effective, if not more effective, than making dietary changes. But again, that's not to say that this doesn't have a place, and that getting clued up on having the right kind of diet isn't a good thing, because it most certainly is. As I say, in my experience, acid reflux is a challenging condition to live with and deal with, particularly if you don't want to opt for surgical intervention. You have to approach it from different angles, and you're never going to completely solve it. You're never going to completely cure it. You're always going to get flare-ups. You're always going to have good days and bad days. And I do still have to take protein pump inhibitors, Nexium, from time to time. But by using resources such as this and other things, you can limit that, and you can try and enjoy eating, drinking, living a normal life. As I say, this I can certainly recommend this as a tool to aid you in that. And incidentally, I've also linked below in the description to some other resources, which may also be helpful to you. Thanks for listening.